If you are a Canadian senior receiving OAS, CPP, or GIS, there are several 2026 changes and updated rules you should know about. And some of these changes may affect the amount of money you receive, the income limits that apply to you, or even the way your future retirement benefits are calculated. The important thing is that not every change means your monthly check will automatically increase. Some changes affect people who are still working. Some affect lower income seniors receiving GIS, and others matter if you are deciding when to start your OAS or CPP. So in today's video, we're breaking down 5 important 2026 rules and updates that every Canadian senior should understand before assuming their current payment will stay exactly the same. And stay with me until the end, because the 5th rule is especially important if your income has changed recently. A drop in income after retirement can sometimes change how certain benefits are calculated, and many seniors simply don't realize that they may need to contact the government instead of waiting for the next automatic adjustment. Let's start with rule number 1. OAS payments have been adjusted again in 2026 because of the cost of living. Old age security is reviewed quarterly, and the payment amounts are adjusted based on changes in the Consumer Price Index. For the July to September 2026 quarter, OAS benefits increased by 1.2%. According to the Government of Canada, this represents a 2.3% increase between July 2025 and July 2026. The government reviews OAS amounts in January, April, July, and October. So what does that actually mean for you? For July through September 2026, the maximum OAS pension is $751.97 per month for someone aged 65 to 74. For someone aged 75 or older, the maximum is $827.17 per month. These are maximum amounts, however, and they are not what every Canadian senior automatically receives. Your actual payment depends on your individual circumstances, including factors such as your eligibility and residence history. This is important because seniors sometimes hear a number online and immediately compare it with the amount in their bank account. If your payment is lower than the maximum, that does not automatically mean something is wrong. The maximum is simply the highest amount available under the applicable rules. But there is another part of the OAS rules that you should understand. You don't necessarily have to start OAS at exactly age 65. If you are eligible, you can choose to delay your OAS pension, and delaying can increase your monthly payment. The government says the OAS pension increases by 0.6% for every month you delay after 65, up to age 70. That means delaying for 5 years can increase the pension by as much as 36%. For example, using the July to September 2026 maximum of $751.97 at age 65, the government lists a maximum of approximately $1,022.68 per month at age 70 after the 36% increase. But that doesn't mean delaying OAS is automatically the best choice for everyone. Your health, savings, other retirement income, taxes, and whether you qualify for GIS can all matter when deciding when to start. This is one of the biggest mistakes seniors can make, assuming that there is one perfect age for everyone to start OAS. There isn't. For someone who needs the income immediately, starting at 65 may make sense. Someone who has other income and wants a larger guaranteed monthly OAS payment later may consider delaying. And if you're receiving or expecting to receive GIS, you need to look carefully at how your decision interacts with your overall benefits. So rule number 1 is simple. Don't look only at the headline OAS increase. Look at your actual OAS amount, your age, your other income, and your overall retirement plan. Now, let's move to rule number 2. The 2026 GIS amounts and income thresholds have changed, and your income can make a major difference. The Guaranteed Income Supplement is designed for low-income seniors who receive OAS. This is one of the most important benefits for seniors with limited retirement income, but it is also one of the most misunderstood. For July through September 2026, a single, divorced, or widowed senior receiving OAS can receive up to $123.17 per month in GIS if they meet the applicable income requirements. The current annual income threshold listed by the Government of Canada for this category is less than $22,800. But don't make the mistake of thinking that earning $22,199 automatically means you will receive the full $123.17. That's not how it works. The maximum amount is not guaranteed. Your actual GIS payment depends on your income and circumstances. For couples, the rules are different again. For example, if your spouse or common law partner receives the full OAS pension, the current maximum GIS listed for July through September 2026 is $676.09 per month, with a combined annual income threshold of less than $30,096 for that category. If your spouse does not receive OAS or an allowance, the applicable threshold and maximum can be different. Why is this so important? Because GIS is income tested. That means other income can affect how much GIS you receive. So if you're a senior receiving CPP, workplace pension income, investment income, or other taxable income, you shouldn't assume that your GIS will remain exactly the same every year. And this brings us to an important situation that could affect thousands of Canadian seniors: retirement or a significant drop in income. Imagine that you were working part-time during the previous year. Your income was high enough that your GIS was reduced, or perhaps you didn't qualify for the amount you expected. Then you stop working in 2026 and your income drops significantly. You might think, I'll just wait until next year and see what happens. But that isn't necessarily the best approach. The Government of Canada explains that if your current year income is lower because of circumstances such as retirement or certain pension benefits being reduced or stopped, you can contact them about having your benefit calculated using an estimate of your current year income rather than simply relying on the previous year's income. This doesn't mean everyone who retires will automatically receive a larger GIS payment. It means that a major change in income is something you should report and ask about. That distinction is extremely important. Don't listen to anyone online who tells you, if you retired this year, the government will automatically give you the maximum GIS. That's not guaranteed. Your actual benefit still depends on your eligibility and income. But don't make the opposite mistake either, assuming that your previous year's higher income permanently prevents you from receiving support after your income falls. Your situation can change. And that's why rule number 2 is, if your income has changed significantly in 2026, especially because you retired or lost a source of pension income, check whether your GIS calculation should be reviewed. Now, let's talk about rule number 3, and this one is mainly important for Canadians who are still working or who plan to continue working while contributing to CPP. The Canada Pension Plan has undergone an enhancement over several years, and in 2026, there are 2 important earnings levels that seniors and workers should understand. For 2026, the year's maximum pensionable earnings, or YMPE, is $74,600. There is also a higher year's additional maximum pensionable earnings, or YAMPE, of $85,000. Earnings between those levels are subject to the second additional CPP contribution under the enhanced CPP structure. Now, if you're already retired and no longer working, you may not care about CPP contributions in your monthly budget, but if you're still working, self-employed, or planning to continue working after starting CPP, this becomes much more relevant. For 2026, the employee and employer contribution rate for the base CPP plus the first additional contribution is 5.95% on applicable pensionable earnings. The second additional CPP contribution applies to the earnings range above the regular maximum pensionable earnings and up to the new additional maximum, with a contribution rate of 4% for employees and employers on that second range. Self-employed workers pay both portions. Why should a senior care? Because continuing to work while receiving CPP isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, if you're under 70 and working while receiving CPP, you may continue contributing to CPP and potentially build a CPP post-retirement benefit. The government explains that these additional contributions can increase your CPP income in future years. So if you're 65, 66, 67, or 68, and you've started CPP but are still working, don't automatically assume that your CPP is permanently locked at the amount you started with. Your continued CPP contributions can matter. Of course, whether continuing to work is financially worthwhile depends on your personal circumstances. You have to consider taxes, employment income, CPP contributions, your health, your retirement plans, and how additional income affects other benefits. But the key takeaway is that working after starting CPP does not necessarily mean you're simply paying into a system without receiving anything in return. Under the post-retirement benefit rules, additional contributions can create an additional lifetime CPP benefit. And there is another important point about CPP. Your CPP payment can be very different from another person's payment. You might hear someone say, my friend gets over $1,500 a month in CPP, so I should be getting the same. Not necessarily. The Government of Canada lists the maximum CPP retirement pension at age 65 at $1,507.65 per month for January 2026, while the average CPP retirement pension for new beneficiaries at age 65 was $877 per month for July to September 2026. The difference exists because CPP is based on your contribution history, how much you earned, how long you contributed, when you start the pension, and other factors. So if your CPP payment is lower than your neighbor's, that doesn't automatically indicate an error. The important question is, does your CPP amount match your own contribution and retirement history? If you are unsure, you can review your CPP information through your My Service Canada account and look at your contribution record. And now we come to rule number 4, which can be particularly important for seniors who are receiving GIS or other income-tested benefits. Your income matters, and not all seniors realize how changes in other income can affect their benefits. Let's say you receive OAS and GIS and then start taking additional withdrawals from a registered retirement account. Or perhaps you receive a workplace pension, investment income, or another taxable source of income. You may see extra money coming into your bank account and think, that's great, I'm financially better off. But if you're receiving an income-tested benefit, you need to look at the bigger picture. More income isn't necessarily bad, but it can change the amount of GIS or other income-tested support you qualify for. This is why retirement planning shouldn't focus only on the question, how much money can I take out this month? Instead, you should ask, how will this income affect my taxes and my other benefits? For lower income seniors, this can be especially important because GIS is directly connected to income. The current GIS rules specify different thresholds depending on marital status and the OAS status of the spouse or common law partner. And remember, the government updates OAS and GIS amounts periodically. The July to September 2026 rates are not necessarily the rates you'll see forever. OAS and related benefits are reviewed quarterly, and payments can increase when the cost of living increases. The government states that OAS payment rates will not decrease when the cost of living goes down. So, if you're watching this video months from now, don't assume the exact dollar amounts mentioned today are still current. Always check the latest official government figures. This is also why I recommend that seniors don't base important financial decisions on a single YouTube video, Facebook post, or viral article. Use videos like this to understand what questions you should be asking. Then verify your personal situation through official Canadian government sources. And there is one final rule we need to cover, and this one could be especially important if you've recently retired, your spouse's income has changed, or you've experienced a major change in household income. Because sometimes the biggest change isn't the amount printed on the government's benefit table. It's a change in your personal circumstances. Now, let's get to rule number 5, and this may be one of the most important things for Canadian seniors to understand in 2026. Your OAS and GIS can be affected by your income, and the government recalculates these benefits based on your income information. This is especially important if your income has changed recently. Many seniors assume that the amount they receive is permanently fixed once they start OAS or GIS, but that's not how income-tested benefits work. The Government of Canada says GIS, the allowance, and the allowance for the survivor are recalculated each July based on net income from the previous calendar year. Depending on the change in your income, your benefit can increase, decrease, or even stop. Let's make this easier to understand with an example. Imagine you were working part-time in 2025 and earned additional employment income. That income could affect the amount of GIS you receive during the benefit period that begins in July 2026. But then imagine that you completely retired in early 2026 and your income dropped dramatically. You might now be living on CPP, OAS, and a small pension instead of employment income. Your financial situation today could look very different from your financial situation last year. That's why seniors who experience a major income reduction should not simply sit back and assume that nothing can be done until the next annual calculation. The government provides processes for certain situations where current year income is lower because of events such as retirement or certain pension income stopping or being reduced. If this applies to you, you should contact Service Canada and ask whether your current year income can be used for recalculation under the applicable rules. And there's another number you need to understand, the OAS recovery tax, commonly called the OAS clawback. If your income is relatively high, you may have to repay part or all of your OAS through the tax system. For the 2026 tax year, the OAS repayment range for people aged 65 to 74 is based on net world income starting at $95,323, with the upper threshold at $155,109. For people aged 75 and older, the upper threshold is $161.80. Now, don't panic when you hear the word clawback. It does not mean every senior earning more than $95,323 suddenly loses their entire OAS pension. The repayment is calculated based on how much your income exceeds the applicable threshold. The higher your income within the repayment range, the greater the potential repayment, and this is why retirement income planning can become complicated. Suppose you have OAS, CPP, a workplace pension, investment income, and withdrawals from registered accounts. Looking at each income source separately can make everything seem simple. But your tax return looks at your overall income, and certain income levels can affect benefits and taxes. So before making a large withdrawal from an RRSP or another retirement account, especially if you're receiving GIS or are approaching the OAS recovery tax range, it can be worth understanding how that withdrawal could affect your overall situation. This doesn't mean you should never withdraw your retirement savings. It means you should understand the consequences before making a major financial decision. And that brings us to another important point. CPP and OAS are not the same thing. A lot of Canadian seniors use the terms interchangeably, but they work differently. CPP is an earnings-related pension. Your CPP retirement pension is based on your contributions and your contribution history, along with factors such as when you start your pension. OAS, on the other hand, is a federal pension based largely on age, residence, and income-related rules. That's why two seniors can have completely different CPP amounts while receiving similar OAS amounts. For 2026, the maximum new CPP retirement pension at age 65 is listed at $507, or $65 per month. But the average CPP retirement pension for new beneficiaries at age 65 is far lower. The government publishes these figures to show the difference between the maximum possible benefit and what the average new beneficiary actually receives. So if somebody tells you everyone in Canada gets over $500 a month from CPP, that's simply not accurate. The maximum is not the average. Your CPP is connected to your own contribution record. And this leads to a very important 2026 reminder for seniors who are still working. If you are under age 70, receiving CPP, and continue working in pensionable employment, you may continue making CPP contributions and become eligible for a post-retirement benefit. Each valid contribution can create an additional benefit beginning the following year. For someone who enjoys working part-time after retirement, this can be worth understanding. You may be earning employment income while also receiving CPP, and your additional CPP contributions can potentially increase your future monthly pension through the post-retirement benefit. But again, this is not a reason to work simply because someone on the internet says you will get more CPP. Whether working is right for you depends on your health, lifestyle, employment income, taxes, retirement goals, and personal circumstances. Now, let's step back and look at the 5 rules together because the bigger picture is more important than any individual number. Rule number 1, OAS amounts are adjusted periodically for inflation. For July through September 2026, the maximum monthly OAS is $751.97 for ages 65 to 74 and $827.17 for ages 75 and older. The July 2026 adjustment increased OAS benefits by 1.2% for the quarter. Rule number 2, GIS is income tested, and the amount depends heavily on your income and family situation. For July through September 2026, a single OAS recipient can receive up to $123.07 per month, subject to the applicable income requirements. Rule number 3, CPP continues to have enhanced contribution rules, including the second additional CPP contribution for earnings in the applicable higher range. In 2026, the WAMPE is $74,600, while the YAMPE is $85,000. Rule number 4, your total retirement income matters. CPP, workplace pensions, investment income, and other taxable income can affect your overall tax situation and, in some circumstances, income-tested benefits. And rule number 5, if your income or family circumstances change, don't assume your previous benefit calculation automatically reflects your new reality. Check your situation and contact the appropriate government department when necessary. Now, there's one more thing I want every Canadian senior watching this video to understand. Don't confuse a maximum benefit with your guaranteed benefit. You will see numbers online like $507 CPP, $827 OAS, or $123 GIS. These numbers are useful because they show the maximum amounts under specific circumstances. But your own payment may be completely different. Your CPP could be lower because your contribution history was different. Your OAS could be lower because you have a partial pension based on your residence history. Your GIS could be lower because your income is higher than the income of another senior, and your benefits can change over time. For example, the Government of Canada says that if you lived in Canada for at least 10 years but less than 40 years after age 18, you may receive a partial OAS pension rather than the full pension. So someone who moved to Canada later in life should not compare their OAS payment directly with someone who lived in Canada for their entire adult life. This is also why the government's OAS estimator can be useful. It considers information such as your age, net income, residence history, and marital status to provide an estimate of your OAS benefits. The current estimator uses the July to September 2026 rates, although future rates can change because of inflation. Now let's talk about something that can protect you from making expensive mistakes. Don't make retirement decisions based on viral headlines. If you see a headline saying, everyone gets a $500 OAS increase, stop and investigate. If you see someone saying CPP is going up by $1,000 next month, don't automatically believe it. If someone says the government has a secret senior payment that you can unlock by paying a processing fee, that's a major warning sign. Government benefits have official eligibility rules, and legitimate government programs do not require you to hand over your banking password or pay a stranger to unlock a payment. Instead, Use official Government of Canada resources and your My Service Canada account when appropriate. The government provides access to OAS, GIS, and CPP information through its official services. And here's a simple habit that can make your retirement planning much easier. Check your benefits at least once every year. Don't check only when your payment suddenly changes. Check when you turn 65, check when you turn 70, check when you retire. Check when your spouse retires, check when your spouse passes away, check when your income drops, check when you start receiving a new pension, and check when you make a major change to your retirement savings. Your situation can change, and the benefits you qualify for can depend on that situation. For seniors receiving GIS, this is particularly important because GIS is recalculated based on income information and can change when your income changes. Now, before we finish, I want you to do something very simple. Take a moment and write down 4 numbers. First, your age. Second, your current monthly OAS amount. Third, your current monthly CPP amount. And fourth, your approximate annual household income. If you're receiving GIS, write that amount down too. Then ask yourself, has anything changed since last year? Did you retire? Did you stop working? Did your spouse retire? Did your spouse pass away? Did your pension income change? Did you start taking money from your retirement savings? Did your household income increase or decrease significantly? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, that's your signal to review your benefits. And remember that the numbers in this video are 2026 figures and can change as the government updates benefit rates and thresholds. For example, OAS rates are reviewed quarterly, and the government states that payments are adjusted according to changes in the Consumer Price Index. So don't save this video and assume the numbers will be identical forever. Use it as a reminder to check the latest official information. And if you're approaching 65, don't wait until the last minute to understand the difference between CPP and OAS. They're different programs, they have different eligibility rules, and the timing of when you start each one can affect your retirement income. If you're already 65 or older, don't assume you've missed your opportunity to review your benefits. Your circumstances can change at any age, and some benefits and payment amounts are reviewed periodically. Most importantly, don't compare your retirement income with your neighbors. Your neighbor may have contributed to CPP for longer. They may have earned more during their working years. They may have lived in Canada longer. They may have a workplace pension. They may have a different marital status, or they may have completely different income. Instead of asking, why does my neighbor get more? Ask, am I receiving everything I'm personally eligible for? That's the question that can actually help you. So let's quickly summarize today's video one final time. Number 1, OAS amounts are adjusted for inflation, and the July to September 2026 maximums are $751.97 for ages 65 to 74 and $827.17 for ages 75 and older. Number 2, GIS is income tested, and the maximum for a single OAS recipient is currently $1,123 per month for the July to September 2026 period. Number 3, CPP contribution rules continue to reflect the enhanced CPP structure, with the 2026 YMPE at $74,600 and the YAMPE at $85,000. Number 4, your total income matters. Additional pension, employment, investment, or retirement income can affect your tax situation, and depending on the benefit, your eligibility or payment. And number 5, if your income or personal circumstances have changed, don't assume your old benefit calculation tells the whole story. Review your situation and contact the appropriate government service when necessary. The biggest takeaway is this: your retirement benefits are not something you should set and forget. OAS, CPP, and GIS are important sources of income for millions of Canadians, but each program works differently. Understanding those differences can help you ask better questions, avoid misinformation, and make more informed decisions about your retirement. If this video helped you understand the 2026 rules, subscribe to the channel because we're going to continue covering Canadian seniors benefits, OAS, CPP, GIS, retirement income, government payments, and important changes that could affect your household budget. And if you know a Canadian senior who receives OAS, CPP, or GIS, share this video with them. They may not need a complicated financial plan. They may simply need to know which questions to ask and where to check. And remember, don't rely on a viral post, don't rely on a neighbor's payment, and don't rely on a random message promising extra money. Check your own situation using official Canadian government information. Your retirement income is personal. Your eligibility is personal. And the best thing you can do is stay informed, check your numbers, and make sure you understand the rules that apply to you. Thanks for watching.